Alrighty, good everybody, it's the Doga! It is now time for the next installment of the AC/DC album review series. We have finally arrived in the 1990s, and we begin the 1990s with, of course, The Razor's Edge. Considered to be, by a number of fans, to be one of their best albums, but also not so by some others. First album to include Chris Slade on drums, and the only studio album to feature him, and also the first album to feature all the songs written exclusively by Malcolm and Angus, as Brian no longer contributed to any of the lyrics following the Blow Up Your Video album. This was the first to feature 12 songs, and of course the album kicks off with perhaps one of their best known songs being Thunderstruck, perhaps one of their biggest hits, and is still part of the band's set list to this very day, and it's definitely one of my favourites. And Fire Your Guns is up next, another slightly faster song. This one was the B-side, when released as a single in around August of 1990. This is still slightly before my time. I wouldn't come along for another 3 years or so. And of course, Money Talks, which is, from what I've heard, the band's biggest single over in the US. And it definitely pays. Either way, that's another song that, in my opinion, should have stayed in the set list a little longer, but I guess they wanted to get rid of the gimmick of dropping the Angus dollars throughout the crowd, which they did during that tour. And speaking of, my parents did go to see the AC/DC Razor's Edge tour show in 1991. You can actually find a recording of that particular gig, thanks to Tyler from High Voltage Rock and Roll, who uploaded the recording onto his backup channel, and you can find that also linked in a playlist on here. Next song is the title track, The Razor's Edge, a bit slower, a bit heavier. Definitely shows itself to be one of the better songs, and in my opinion should have been played a bit longer. And Misses for Christmas, which follows next, well, say what you want about that one. Some say it's about Donald Trump, but anything to do with him, don't really care. Side 1 closes out with Rock Your Heart Out, which is probably the fastest song on the whole album. And is my mum's favourite from the album as well. Every time I go somewhere with her and we play The Razor's Edge, she always insists on making sure that we always at least play this once. There was one time where I refused to play because I was in a grumpy mood, and oh boy, that put her in a mood. But nonetheless, it's all good. Side 2 kicks off with Are You Ready? WWE fans of late would probably remember this song being used as the theme for SmackDown for the last couple of years until fairly recently. They've gone on to something else now. And this was the third single off the album. Rock Your Heart Out was also a single here, and I have shown my copy of that off in another video. And Got You By The Balls, that was the B-side of Are You Ready as well. That was another good song. Definitely shows that AC/DC still know how to write dirty lyrics. And great guitar riffs, especially this coming directly from Angus and Malcolm themselves. And Shot of Love is the next one, another favourite of mine. This is mine from the album. A nice medium-fast tune with perhaps one of the most underrated riffs in the band's back catalogue. You know, I think Bruce Fairbairn did a pretty good job of producing this album, and it's the only studio album he did with the band, because he would tragically be dead by the end of the 1990s. Let's Make It is the next song. Not really a favourite of mine, never really got my head around it. It's a bit odd, for want of a better term. And Goodbye and Good Riddance to Bad Luck is another good song. It's a bit better than Let's Make It. If only it was possible to get rid of bad luck in everyone's lives, as far as I'm concerned, it's something I wish that we could all be rid of, especially in the last couple of years when we've had this stupid pandemic. And the album closes with If You Dare, which is a bit of a cheeky song, but also can be taken in any way if you really think about it. Another great song that I think should have been played live, but guess it wasn't to be. All in all, I find The Razor's Edge to be a little better than Blow Up Your Video. It does sound a little sterile heading towards modern day, but it's definitely a much stronger album in my opinion than Blow Up Your Video. But that's just what I think of this album. I'm going to give this a 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Can never make up my mind half the time. No good at rating or ranking these albums. Because I just love them all, you know. AC/DC through and through. But either way, that is it for today's Razor's Edge album review. Be sure to like, comment down below on your opinion of this album. And if you're new, be sure to press the subscribe button to see more Be a Good Doga content. And check out all the other album reviews if you haven't done so. But until next time, this is the Doga saying have a great day, everybody. And I shall see you again.